Betty Banjack, and this is Look Who's Cooking. Well, today we really have something very unusual. I guess we shouldn't say look who's cooking. It should be look who we're cooking for. I have Billy, who's the chief curator at the Elwood Park Zoo, and I have Judy, and Judy is a volunteer there, and they've come today to share with us some of the foods that the animals eat and how you would prepare them. And we'll show you which ones the human people can eat also. We also have another volunteer, Judy, but I think she sort of, not Judy, Pat, she sort of snuck out on us. So I don't know what happened to her, but she got camera shy the last minute, I think. So why don't you start with you, Bill, and you tell us what you want to tell us. I see this is good, that's why I keep pointing to it.
Okay, well, I brought the cutting board out today because we're going to be cutting up some of the diets that we prepare for the animals. Particularly what we're doing today is we're doing some diets which are called environmental enrichment diets. These aren't like primary diets that the animal would live off of permanently. These are things that we do for the animals to give them a more natural feeling, make them do things that they would normally do in the wild. If you have an animal that would dig and scratch, or an animal that would primarily use its sense of smell, we're going to prepare some foods that they would use, and to give them that sense of being out in the wild and digging up something.
Like a treat, maybe?
These are all treats.
Oh, these are all treats, okay.
So,
I saw some of these treats. They're fine, you know, for things. But there's a lot of stuff that for human consumption.
Sure. I have a lot of things that humans could eat. I got a lot of things that people are probably be afraid of that these animals are going to eat.
Yeah.
So.
And we have animals too here today. So, what do you want to do? You want to make something first? You want to show your animals first, or?
Well, we'll go ahead and start talking about some of the things that we'll do here, and some of the things that people can relay at home to their home pets. One of which we'll go ahead and start. We're basically going to do a show today, primarily with apples. Apples are real easy to work with. There's a lot of variety that you can do with apples, and this is one of the most common things we use with the environmental enrichment. And today we're going to use it with birds. And we're going to also put it towards some of the other animals a little more specific to our zoo. But this is something that people can use at home, especially people with a lot of parrots, cockatoos, things of that nature. They could use this right here at home.
Do they eat that whole like that, or you cut it up? Or?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to actually decorate this up and make it a little more appealing to them. And we're going to feed it out whole as it is with a little bit of extra additives to it. So what we'll do is I'll let Judy get started.
Oh, I like your kitchen utensil.
This is the greatest kitchen utensil in the world. This is a Phillips screwdriver, and it has worked wonders at the zoo. What we're doing is we're actually making a treat. What we have in front of us is not really Fruit Loops, but this is actual parrot diet. It looks a lot like Fruit Loops, but doesn't quite taste the same.
They look like little bananas.
Look like little bananas, also designed to look like little berries. The one thing about birds that a lot of people really misunderstand is birds really aren't primarily seed eaters. Most of your birds actually eat more fruits and vegetables, primarily vegetables actually. So what we're doing is we're giving them a little treat, but we're giving them also something a little more natural that they're used to. Now this right here itself doesn't look all that natural, but the thing about birds is birds don't have good taste buds.
You know.
They really don't have good taste buds. And what they eat by is they eat primarily by shape and color. They don't really eat by taste. And they tend to eat things that are bright red, bright yellow, bright green, things that they would naturally see growing in the wild. And they really aren't, primarily going to eat seeds like people think. So a lot of the prepared diets that have been made nowadays are made in shapes and colors that are more appealing to the birds.
Sort of decorative.
Very decorative.
Can I ask you a question? I know at the zoo you have big birds usually. But parakeets, are they seed eaters too, or not seed eaters, I mean?
They actually, primarily in the wild, the ones that you're probably thinking of, parakeets, they're also, the other name for them is budgetarians. Parakeet really is a family name that means long tail. But the budgetarians do eat a lot of vegetables, and they do eat a lot of fruits, more so than seeds. Most of the seeds that they get are when they eat through a fruit and what they're pulling out. So they really don't eat as much seeds as a lot of people would think. In fact, a lot of the seeds are poisonous to them, especially pits and avocados in particular. Avocados are poisonous to birds.
Boy, they have to be a big bird to get the pit out of an avocado.
These guys, most of the time, birds are very tenacious and will continue working on something until they're done with it. And the other thing is they have very high metabolism, so they'll eat now, and 5 minutes later they'll be eating again and again and again. So it works out to feed them whole stuff like this. They'll work on it throughout the entire day until they're finally finished with it or they've had enough of it.
Can you do anything else with apples?
We have a lot of things that we're going to be doing with apples today. This is just, like I said, one of the treats, and this is pretty much cooking with apples day.
Oh, is it?
But we'll move along, and I'll show you some of the other things that we do with apples.
Well, apples make a nice steady holder, too.
That's the great thing about apples. There's so much variety you can do with it. A nice, firm fruit, but yet at the same time, it's something that cuts very easily. So it's a lot better than working with something like oranges. Have a nice hard peel, but the inside's too soft, and you really can't work with it as easy as apples are. And apples work out to be an all-around, a little bit better fruit item to use when enrichment. However, I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do. The next thing that we'll show you, we'll do something. We'll do something that'll appeal to people as well.
Oh, I'm ready to eat this. I'll test it.
This one,
Peanut butter, huh?
this is peanut butter. We do a lot of different things with the peanut butter. To be honest, we go through, as far as peanut butter, we go through a large jar a week on average. Sometimes a little less, just depending on the time of the year.
And how many animals do you have at the zoo?
Well, to count every cockroach, we have over 300.
How many cockroaches?
We have a large colony of cockroaches right now, and I have a colony of about 60.
But actually, how many animals? Do you know that? Or?
The actual animals that we have, like excluding cockroaches, the actual cockroach colony anyway, we have upwards of 250. And that includes all the reptiles. It does include other insects. We do have a large variety of insects. Actually, at the Elwood Park Zoo, we have a lot of insects that we use on programs, particularly. You won't see as many on display, but they're there. And if you go to the different shows that we have daily shows, and you'll actually get a chance to see a lot of insects. You'll get to see a lot of variety when it comes to the animal kingdom, particularly with the smaller animals we use a lot with shows. So I have a lot of snakes.
I discovered the zoo when I was 4. My aunt took me. But I couldn't find it again. You know, at 4, how would you know the sense of direction? I didn't even live in this town. And I looked for it for many, many years. And I think at that time it has a very tired lion and a couple other little animals. And today it's just grown, and it's a wonderful place to visit.
Well, the Elwood Park Zoo has basically grown a lot since that time.
I would say so.
The zoo will be celebrating 78 years this year, actually. And the zoo, to account for the 78 years, is incredible changes. We just put in a new playground for children. So we have Conservation Kingdom that just opened, and there will be a lot of different activities for children to do, and they're all conservation-based. It's an idea for kids to come out and have fun, but at the same time they'll learn something, they'll take something home with them.
Is there any interacting between people and the animals at the zoo? Do you have any programs where they interact with each other, I guess I'm going to say?
We have all kinds of programs that we do. As I said, we do daily shows, and there's different interactions that can take place, whether it's directly with the animal. We also have a lot of artifacts that we use, because you're not necessarily going to pet, a lion, tiger, or something like that. But at the same time, you do get to, to pet some of the things that, you would find. We have different furs that we use. We also have a lot of bones that we use. We also have a lot of other artifacts that you typically wouldn't think. We have actual turtle dung that's shellac that you can touch, and
whoopee.
you don't have to worry about washing your hands afterwards.
Yes.
But we have a lot of things for children to do that are interactive.
Is there a petting zoo there?
I
haven't been there for about 1.5 years, as I told you.
It's not really a petting zoo per se. We have an actual Amish barn. It was built by an Amish family that come in, an entire Amish group come in, and they built the barn and they raised it in one day. And we have a lot of the domestic animals that you would find on a typical farm there. And there is contact in that area. You can feed those animals, but we don't actually have a small petting zoo per se. We do have the contact areas. And then we also use our shows a lot for children to get the contact.
Amish definitely can get a barn up in a day.
They can get a barn up in a day.
Is your barn a normal-sized barn?
Actually, it's an Amish barn, so it's much larger.
Big. It's a big barn. They can get them up in a day. It's amazing.
Yep, and it's all wood pegged. The only metal that you see in there is what we done afterwards.
Okay. Well, let's see. What are we going to do with this? Just besides my looking at it and wanting to eat it.
Well, this right here, peanut butter is one of my favorite things. Peanut butter is an all-around treat. There's so much stuff that you can do with peanut butter. We limit the amount just because peanut butter, unfortunately, is very high in fat. So we don't want to use too much of it and have the diet get thrown off and a lot of the animals gain a little too much weight.
Fat bird killing fly.
Fat bird. So basically, we do limit the amount of peanut butter, but we use it a lot because it's nature's glue, practically. Short of molasses or honey, this is the stickiest thing that we have, but it's also something the animals, they all love. And it doesn't seem to matter who it is, whether it's a carnivore or whether it's an omnivore or just a vegetarian, they all seem to like the peanut butter. This one right here, we're going to make a primate treat. And
Look at this, he came equipped with
I
everything.
came fully equipped.
Okay.
And Judy's going to
Try.
she's going to try to make
Is this the bottom cutout?
you can just slice it right down the middle. And what we're going to do is we're basically making something that we can feed out to primarily primates. However, you can also feed it out to, you just want to core that out. You can also feed it out to a lot of the other omnivores. Also, vegetarians, porcupines in particular would like this. We have North American porcupines at the zoo, and the porcupine that we have absolutely loves it. We also, yeah, you just fill that up.
Yep, you need a spoon?
That's okay.
We also have Coati mundis, which is South American raccoon. However, they are found in the southern regions of the United States now. And the coatis absolutely love peanut butter. They get it all over themselves, they get it all over their face, and they spend the rest of the day licking it off.
Oh, double duty, right?
Double duty.
Enough?
You're going to put that together?
See, I gotta get taste.
And then what we do, in order to keep it whole, this is a treat, so he's got to work at it to get to the middle. We use some toothpicks.
You make your animals work?
We make them work. Because if you're going to get a treat that's going to be high in fat, you're going to have to work it off in order to get to it. So this right here is a very easy, quick thing that you can do. And what we do afterwards is we usually just snip off the
Won't they get
points.
them stuck in their throat?
They won't. These guys, what they're interested in is the peanut butter inside. And they usually,
And they'll just eat around them?
they'll eat around it. And if they pull something sharp like that in their mouth, they spit it out. We also, like I said, I take the sharp point off so there's no chance of him biting into it and accidentally poking himself.
This would make a great thing for the table.
Great item
Well,
at the
you have
table.
to tell them that there's sticks in it. Humans don't fare as well as animals with things like
Well,
that.
this
That'd
one
be
right
a great
here,
way to...
if you want to use it at home as a treat, just minus the toothpicks and eat it as a half, and you can just
Yeah.
fill it up with your peanut butter. Otherwise, you can put it back together and you can feed it out. Same thing with this also. It can be a bird treat, just the same. Your dog's probably not going to like it.
No.
Your cat might want to smack it around a little bit, but as far
Now,
as
dogs, I know this isn't in your field, but I can't begin to tell people enough about not giving chocolate to dogs. I just had a friend who's a short while back lost their dog because they got chocolate,
yeah,
and it ate it, and it got very sick, and it died. I mean, it was that
Right.
simple, so...
Yeah, you got to keep any kind of chocolates, and usually the problem that you have with that is not so much people as much as the children. They're eating it, and they give their
Yeah.
snack to the dog, and so you have to be very careful. And whenever you give your treats to your children, make sure that they don't give them off to your family pet also.
Well, that's true, too.
Uh,
So you have to sort of know what you're doing at all
yeah,
times.
yeah, you have to know what you're doing. You have to keep an eye on kids at all times.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, of course, you know, the kids have a dog, and their beloved dog, and they want to share everything with it.
oh,
So
absolutely. And-
I see we have animals here today.
Yes, we do. Actually, we can bring one of them out if you want to.
Oh,
Let's go.
I'm going to move back just a little. This is a skunk. Actually, it doesn't smell like a skunk. It smells funny, but not like a skunk.
Not like a skunk. This one has actually been descented. This is an eastern double-striped skunk. Get a good view of the stripes there.
And there's a dark one in the middle, right?
That's the double stripe.
Oh, okay.
It's a very faint line. Actually, for these guys, for whatever reason, have a very light stripe pattern that goes down them. So it looks like they're almost single stripe, but this is an actual double stripe. The actual male that is her boyfriend.
Oh, the boyfriend, is there a girlfriend?
This is the girlfriend.
Oh, this is the girlfriend.
It has a large white stripe, but it actually is a double striped skunk. And if you shave him down, he's got a black stripe that goes on his skin, but it doesn't actually grow out a black stripe.
How often do they mate?
Once a year.
Oh, just once a year?
Yeah, once a year.
And how long does it take them to carry the litter?
Well, these guys right here, it's a short amount of time. You're actually looking at just slightly over a month. It's basically about a month and a half, almost 2 months. And after that, it'll be anywhere from 6 to 12 usually. We have another female at the zoo. Her first time giving birth, she gave birth to 12.
Oh, my. Now, does the boyfriend for both ladies, or?
Actually, we don't really use him too much with this one because we use this one for education programs. And she doesn't need to be traveling if she's pregnant. So we actually keep the other two together on a regular basis. And
I'm going to pet a snake. Snake, listen to me.
Okay.
Skunk. Well, that's the right letter.
Much different animal. These guys actually eat snakes.
Oh, yeah.
Skunks are omnivores. They eat pretty much whatever they'd like, including whatever humans eat too.
We made your director, Dr. Marks, promise that he wouldn't send any snakes and mice that eat each other or whatever.
Right.
Did we want her to test out the apple, or what was your?
We can show
didn't know
up. We'll
what you
see
were-
whether she was willing to eat the apple. Let's
I
give her a
know.
little.
She eats apples then.
She eats apples.
Don't eat
She eats
She'll eat it. Yep. Does she have a name?
Blackfoot.
Blackfoot.
You better
This-
get a better name than that.
This one will eat practically whatever it wants, including pizza, if you were to feed it that. The problem with skunks, she's a little camera shy, so she may not be very willing to eat
She
today.
wants the
She's smelling everything else.
cutting board. It's more interesting.
Never put your hand in front of her either. 'Cause
Does
if
she
you've had
bite?
food, well, if there's a smell of food on it, she's going to go for it. They don't see very well.
Oh,
Oh, they use their nose very.
they don't see very
Definitely.
well. I understand that.
I think we're a little disinterested right now. We're trying to figure
so
out.
much new.
Now, she has whiskers or antennas.
Just
Are
like a
they
cat.
for smelling?
The whiskers, a lot of times aren't really understood very well. It is a sensory organ. With animals that really don't see very well, the whiskers actually help to detect motion, because just like anything else, there's vibrations that move through the air, and they will actually vibrate those whiskers. So that's one of the primary uses for them. It's not very well understood, the complete use for whiskers, especially with cats. But it is a sensory organ. It's just not fully understood.
Now, this particular skunk has been deskunked. I don't
This
know the word
one's
for it.
Descented.
Descented.
Desented.
Yeah, the skunks have scent glands right around the rear here, and one of the primary defenses
I
is
don't
when
like the
you walk
position
up.
he's in. She's in.
But this one you don't have to worry about. This one, as you said, has been deskunked or descented. And their primary defense is this right here first. It's just their tail. This right here is a flag. And basically they raise that up to give you a fair warning that you're getting a little too close. After that, then she wants to give you not quite what I would call a physical warning, but what she does is she does emotions where she bounces on her front legs. And that's another thing to scare you off. And basically, I'm trying to show you that I'm a little tougher than I look type
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Well, you know what I've noticed? More and more kids seem to be having skunks for pets. Is this a good pet for?
This right here is
The
actually
house
not
pet?
a good pet. And the reason being, primarily, I mean, it's a wild animal. They're not domesticated, and you really can never predict, the personality of a wild animal. And it could be perfectly sweet for years, and the next thing you know, it bites you. And it's just not a good pet to be handling.
You don't want the apple?
She didn't seem interested.
Doesn't seem to
You
be
don't want the
interested.
apple. I bet the turtle wants the apple.
The turtle would eat the apple, but we have something actually a little bit better for the turtle to
Okay.
eat.
Well, I'm jumping ahead here.
But this right here, actually, when they keep them as pets, the primary actual thing that really happens to these guys is they do have a major health problem, is they get a lot of fatty liver disease and stuff like that. Is because they get too fat. People want to treat them like the animals that they know, which are cats, and they feed them cat food. And cat food on as a steady diet is not what you primarily want to keep them on. They're omnivores. They do need a lot of vegetables, and what happens is they get too fat in captivity.
Well, a lot of people keep ferrets as pets.
A lot
Are
of
they
people keep-
better than them or the
Well,
same thing?
Ferrets are actually domesticated animals. Ferrets have been domesticated for about 2,000 years. And it's a much different, this one is not domesticated, ferrets are. Ferrets, really, as long as you have the time to spend with it, do make decent pets. However, you got to be willing to put forth the effort. Just like the skunk, ferrets actually have scent glands, and they can spray you. So they're descended in pet stores. However, what happens is they still produce a little odor to which they need to be bathed on a regular basis.
Oh, you have to bathe them.
Yeah.
That must be fun. Trying to, now that I understand, is the zoo going to be getting, the Elwood Park Zoo, are they going to be getting that black-footed
We're going to be getting black-footed ferrets, and we have prairie dogs there, and we're going to give them a new home. Should be coming up. We're still raising money. We have a nice exhibit that's going to be built at the far end next to our bison. You actually have to come visit the Elwood Park Zoo, and you walk all the way down to the very end, and we have a very large bison exhibit, and we have elk in there. And that's our grasslands area. And the black-footed ferret and prairie dogs are grassland animals. And we're going to be building a new exhibit for them. It's going to be a very nice interactive exhibit. It's going to have pop-up tunnels for kids to climb in and actually pop up right in the middle of the prairie dogs.
Oh, that'll be fun.
However, black-footed ferrets eat prairie dogs, so it's
Yeah.
going to be a side-by-side exhibit, but not a coexistent
You know,
exhibit.
being with the library, and we had this exhibit there, Listening to the Prairie, that's a big thing about ferrets and prairie dogs and all that. It became a very big thing. That's how I learned as much as I
Sure.
did about that. So, though I did have a friend who would sometime, I shouldn't say force me, but force me to go to the zoo with them and watch the prairie dogs pop up and down. They're pretty
Right.
funny, you know.
They're very fun to watch. The kids get a kick out of them. We have a lot of babies right now, and it'd be very interesting to come out and see the baby prairie dogs. They're standing up. They're about 4 inches tall right now.
What do we have next?
Well, what we have next,
Are we going to put a Flatfoot, is it?
Blackfoot.
Blackfoot.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to show you one of the things right at this moment.
That
And we'll
looks
bring out
pretty good.
our next guest, and you can,
What is it?
this is a salad,
Banana?
banana, apple, shredded up carrots, romaine lettuce. When I have other vegetables in stock, I put tomatoes in there, green peppers, curly kale, collard greens.
They have the skins on them, the
They
bananas.
do have the skins on them, and there's a reason for that. As I was telling you about birds earlier, birds
Oh.
don't have good taste buds.
Let me move this.
Sure.
The cutting stuff.
This guy right here is practically indestructible. This guy right here is found from Africa. This is a spur-thighed tortoise. These guys, where they're found from, lions can't even bite through the shell. It's so hard.
How old is he?
This one right here is actually somewhere around 8 to 9 years of age. Actually fairly small for its size. One of the reasons, this one right here had a crack across the back of its shell. And versus growing outward, she spent most of her time repairing this nice little
With
crack.
crazy glue.
Crazy glue, we just let Mother Nature take care of this one. And she just,
That's really pretty.
she actually repaired it all over on her own, just basically with a good diet. And she produces this shell and everything heals over all of its own. However, if a turtle does get hurt, they actually do use types of glues to repair cracks. But that's for like real severe cracks or breaks. This one right here was just a nice crack, and she repaired it all on her own. But this right here is...
How much do you think she weighs? Or he?
Actually, I can tell you exactly how much she weighs. This one weighs 20 pounds.
And what's her name?
This is Adelia.
Adelia?
Adelia.
You have such wonderful names for these animals.
This one right here is probably about a fourth, actually more of an eighth grown. This one will be about 100 pounds when it's full grown, up to 180 are some of the record sizes for the spur thighs, or sulcatas was another name for them. And they get that name along these spurs, along the front legs, and particularly along the back. You can see these very large spurs that are actually located right here on the back side. That's where she gets her name from. But just like the birds, she doesn't have good taste buds.
Yeah, but, well, you say that, but they eat all the food that humans eat. Does that mean humans don't have good taste buds in there?
This one right here, what they eat, they're eating primarily based off of color because they know that the different kinds of vegetables and fruits that grow in the wild that have these colors are things that are not poisonous that grow in the wild. And that's the reason why these animals eat primarily based off of color. They're eating for things that they know aren't going to be poisonous.
When do they eat once a day, or you eat depending on the animal?
It really depends on the animal. Versus like the skunk eats every day, but the tortoise right here we feed 3 times a week. And other than that, she's given free range on all the grass that she wants or hay that she wants to eat. But she's only fed vegetables 3 times a week.
You must have a very big clipboard. Yes, no, yes.
We have a very
yes,
large
no.
board that sits up in our kitchen, and it has every diet for all the
Now,
animals in
you
the
cook
zoo.
most of the food in the.
We all take turns on cooking.
Oh, you're
and-
backing out of this on me now.
I'm not backing out of it. I cook or cut up mostly. Diets, I probably do it probably like once a week, if that much. I have other keepers that's their primary responsibility.
You have a lot of volunteers at the zoo.
We do have a lot of
And
volunteers.
Judy is a volunteer, and I promised them that I would say, or somebody would say, that the zoo can always use volunteers. So call the zoo or go over to the zoo
Sure.
and just say, I want to volunteer, and I'm sure someone will get you in
Oh,
the right
absolutely.
direction.
Call the education.
Yeah, you want to call the education
education
department?
department.
You want to call, actually, you want to dial 610-277-3825, and you want to talk to Karen McAllister, which is extension 48, and she's our volunteer coordinator.
You're not ready for that, huh? That was.
I
I'm only
always need
kidding. I know,
volunteers.
I know that.
I need volunteers.
And in Hoboken, it's.
Yeah. we on a daily basis, we could use up towards 20 volunteers a day easily. Right
How
now,
many do you have now?
on a daily basis, we'll have usually around 10 to 12, and we could use a lot more.
You had another treat here, the monkey treats.
Sure, I'll show you that. Let me move her.
Look at that turtle. I mean, that's. You can't keep them at home, can you?
This one is very destructive.
Oh, yeah?
These guys are little tanks, and anything that gets in their way, they try to push right through it. And if they got into a coffee table and they were trying to climb underneath it, they would literally flip that coffee table over trying to get underneath it because they don't realize they can't dig through a hardwood floor. And they'll attempt to, and they'll knock stuff over in the
So,
process.
so much for that.
Right, and if you stick them out in your yard, unless you have a very nice pen, it's going to obviously wander off. And the problem with these guys is even if you pin them up out in the yard, they're going to dig holes, and they're notorious for digging 40-foot trenches in the wild.
Oh.
So that's the last thing you want probably going through your yard.
Now, what's all this stuff?
Well, we got a variety of things right here to show you. This right here is a turtle diet that goes for that tortoise, and as you can see, the same thing with the bird food. It's nice, bright colored, reds, yellows, and greens. However, these right here, we're using as treats. These are monkey biscuits.
Oh, yeah?
These
Can
are
a human eat them?
sure.
Are you sure?
Monkeys are primates, and this right here is something for any primate to eat.
Anyone want to try? Come on, Anthony, you want to try. I know. Here, you can have your, I
Sure.
think these were the better ones.
These are better ones.
You gonna break your teeth?
They're
Nice and hard.
nice and hard.
Grains is
Oh.
pretty good.
Yeah, okay. I'll taste one. Can I taste that one?
Sure.
Is that
if you like.
broken? I mean, I'm afraid I'm gonna break my teeth.
They're very hard.
Anthony's young, he has hard teeth, you know.
These right here are designed more for your primates, but it also helps to brush their teeth, so they are very hard. It's a lot like a cereal. It has a lot of oats and grains with it. There's also a lot of protein that's added to it, just like bodybuilders would use. It's a protein powder that's added with it.
Well, maybe if I ate this, I could lose some weight. It takes so
Sure.
long to eat it.
This right here is actually, this is a complete balanced diet for monkeys. If they ate nothing else, if they ate just these, they would live a
How many would they have to
healthy
eat?
life. Well, it depends on what it is. If you're looking at small monkeys, marmosets and tamarins would eat a size like this.
Share that, see if Anthony can pick that
And this
up.
right here is a smaller biscuit. It's designed for
Can we get
marmosets,
this camera?
tamarins,
Yeah, I think that's here.
animals that are about 10 to 12 inches tall, actually. This right here has a lot of vitamin C actually in it. If you got a cold, this would be a good stable diet to keep.
I have an allergy, but I can't see eating a full diet of that. We're running short, but there's something with worms
Sure.
that I would never eat.
Well, this actually goes hand in hand with the monkey food. This is something that marmosets and tamarins, as I was talking about the smaller biscuits, eat. And this is where I actually come up with the idea. This right here is something that you would find at your local pet store, or you can find them sometimes even at fishing supply stores.
They're fighting.
That's a mealworm. And these guys right here are looking for a way out. And what I've done with the apple is we've actually cored it out. Now, I've done this one a little earlier, so it's a little brown right now.
You can tell the brown.
Yeah. This one right here is a cored out apple, but what I've done is I've actually put tunnels in it for the worms. And these guys, what we'll do is we'll throw them right in the middle, and they'll crawl their way out. So the one thing you don't look for in the grocery store is an apple with worms in it. I make apples with worms in them at the zoo.
Well, we always knew.
We just basically
And
stick them in.
And then they'll eventually crawl out.
They'll crawl right out. As you can see, they're already doing it.
Can you put them in a plastic bag, please? So they don't crawl all over us.
There we go. And these guys, I have holes in it, and they'll crawl their way out. Marmosets and tamarins love this. A lot of the other omnivores, the skunk loves stuff like this, and I've actually done this with our skunks. They absolutely go crazy for it.
You know what? There's so much here, and there's so much at the zoo to see.
Sure.
I think we better just pick up and go to the zoo to see more, or maybe later on we'll come back with some other animals and some other food.
Oh, absolutely.
But I want to thank you both for coming. It's been it's enjoyable, you know. I have to be honest. I'm not an animal person, pet person. But when I get around them, I'm okay. It's just getting there isn't always easy. So if you go to the zoo, you're there.
Well, if you come to the Elwood Park Zoo, maybe I can change your mind about that.
Okay. Oh, I want it's a cougar. I want a pussycat. You know, get you. But I like animals, as I
Sure.
said, but I never grew up with them, and that's what makes a big difference in your life. So we're going to be going, and I think this may not be everything you want to cook in your life, or but they learned to what other animals, and they found out you could, except for the worms.
Oh.
No, I do know someone who eats worms. Except for the worms, it's not something you'd want to eat all the time.
It's not something you would eat all the time. I think everybody would get more of a
Yeah,
kick out of
that's a
turtle
salad. We understand salad. So thank you for coming, and look who's cooking, and we'll be back.